So here's what I'm learning about fuel distribution centers and waste campuses as well. So because we have rail on our site, we've had a lot of interesting prospects that want to do a land lease, buy the land. Now that we know that we could put a rail spur that fits about 25 to 40 rail cars. There's been a lot of opportunities. And so with that, I'm actually walking the trail right now of one of our sites. So with that, it's super interesting just because now what I'm learning is one of the potential operators that want to purchase the asset, they actually run fuel basically. So they have a fuel company and they're interested in our site, but I didn't know that normal fuel like gasoline it's so combustible that typically they don't run on rail, but oil does run on rail. And so one rail car for a tanker can hold the equivalent to 4 freight semi trucks that basically pull up to the actual terminal. So this is how it typically works when it deals with fuel, which I'm learning this as well. It basically works like this: comes from the ground, comes out of it, I believe it gets refined, then it gets shipped over, or it does not get refined. It just goes from ground, shipped over, then it gets refined, then from the tanker, then you grab it from the tanker, and then it's actually getting shipped to a tanker, like somebody's holding what they call a tanker farm. It could be 1 million gallon tanker farm or 750,000 tanker farm. And then that individual is dispersing it towards gas stations and everything else. Now the catch is, typically if you're grabbing it from the terminal, let's say Tampa has a terminal, right? And that's where the tankers are coming from. Well, those terminals that you're getting it from, you have to go through typically a franchise like Marathon, Chevron, all these other companies. They actually have to go through a what they call a jobber, right? And so what I'm learning pertaining to the fuel world, because of our rail, a lot of different opportunities are coming up. So because of that, now I understand that, okay, so if it comes from the terminal and then it comes out of that terminal, the way that it actually goes down is it's coming from the ship, out of the vessel, it comes on, then it gets a jobber, actually is, I guess, certifying or doing whatever, but typically jobbers are only with these bigger companies. Now, if you can go with a fuel distributor that it's its own jobber, then you actually save a lot of time and money, because that fuel distributor it is its own jobber. So you're actually cutting out a middleman from jobber to like Chevron or Marathon, stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but this is what I'm learning. So with that being said, there's one of the individuals that are interested in our sites because they could actually, again, one rail tanker holds the capacity of 4 semi-truck, freight tankers, right? Tanks. And then remember, it goes from the actual terminal, let's say Tampa Port, and then from Tampa Port, it actually then goes to somebody's tank vehicle, but it has to pass through a jobber. Anyway, long story short, basically what's going on is we're seeing if this site is going to work for them or not. Now, the other catch is we have another individual that has a fertilizer company. Well, they need rail as well. Then you also have like a company like Cemex, or a concrete company, could be Titan Concrete, anybody that's producing large quantities that need the lowest shipping cost possible. Typically it's rail if you're doing it at high capacity. Now, the other thing is that I'm learning is that if you are using rail and you're going that route, you really want to have enough rail that it makes sense. Meaning, if it's further away, like past 300 miles, rail sometimes makes a lot of sense. If it's shorter distances, like that last mile, sometimes rail doesn't make sense. So if you have rail on your site, this is kind of the things that you're thinking about. Now, what I'm thinking about on my side, because I own the site, as a developer, my goal is just to create a win-win scenario for all parties. You know, I've got investors, I've got partners, and I'm kind of the one in the middle creating the opportunity and discover the opportunity, and then kind of making all the phone calls necessary and having the conversations and, you know, just moving the ball forward. I call it the hot potato, you know, because kind of your goal when you're a developer is just moving everything forward and then following up, a ton of follow-ups. If it's not me, my team, everything is pertaining to just moving it forward. What's next, what's next, what's next, and making sure it's moving. So do I recommend this? If you love a challenge, if you love a challenge, you love, to me, I love chess. So if you love chess, if you love the aspect of, like, to me, the adventure and kind of the excitement of learning something new every time, I just think it's fascinating. As a kid, I actually grew up with rail cars, and now I have a rail site. I just think it's neat. At the end of the day, I just think it's cool. So again, hopefully you're learning something out of this. If you've got developments that you're having kind of like, oh man, I'm having a hard time like running my numbers, or you feel a little bit lost, if you go to the website at trueinvestors.com, hopefully some of my case studies could like unclog your brain a little bit. Or if you just share in the comments below, like what's a challenge or what's a constraint that you're dealing with right now? And I'll do my best to actually answer the question, because what comes up for me is I've had so much experience with so many types of constraints. I think I'm getting a lot better at just navigating constraints as quickly as possible. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times, you just may not know what you don't know. And that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. So hopefully this helps. Bye.